Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
Today we're here to talk about Halloween.
Ooh.
And for once, we all got the right same memo about what we're doing for Halloween.
Yay!
I mean, I just kind of felt like wearing my old retro clothes, but, it works.
And I actually really do like ska.
Alright, so, in earlier episodes on Halloween, we pointed out how the date of All Saints' Day has changed. But we kind of just glossed over it because wasn't the point.
We just said, it changed.
And one time when we did this during a year in which we were collabing with other sites.
Like a fat kid with a big bag of candy. It's a movable feast.
Uh-huh. Anyway, there was a bunch of, Orthodox people who insisted that the Pope did not have the authority to change the date. And there was like a whole bunch of stuff. It wasn't in our site, but other ones in the collab going on and on about it. So this year, I decided to do a deep dive into when the dates were before, how it changed, why it changed. And to be fair, I only use sites that were recommended by an Orthodox group.
There you go.
Now, a lot of this is from a group that's actually an atheist group, so they actually don't care one way or the other. So they're like, this
is just the facts.
These are the facts. So
yeah, they're on the sidelines in a Catholic Orthodox internecine fight.
So by the 4th century, there were all sorts of local saints / martyrs' day.
Correct.
For all the saints or martyrs that no one knew who they were.
Yeah. Well, and again, in the very early centuries of the church, all the saints were martyrs.
Well, for the most part.
Yeah.
Largely in the East, they celebrated this day on the Sunday after Pentecost.
Okay.
Which is still what most branches, if not all, the Orthodox Church do. And some groups in the West also pick the same date. But like the Syrians picked the Friday after Easter.
Okay.
The city of Edessa did it on May 13th. And there were tons of other dates that were largely sometime in the springtime for the most part.
Huh. Okay. But it was usually tied roughly to Easter.
Easter tide.
Proximal to Easter. Okay.
So, on May 13th of either 1609 or on May 13th of either 609 or 610, Pope Boniface IV, who again, I'm horribly disappointed for a Halloween episode, was not named Bonyface, even though that's what it says.
Seriously.
That's what I was going to call him.
Seriously.
Yep, he turned the
For our purposes, he is Bonyface.
He turned the
He's
Parthenon
the fourth
into a
Bonyface.
And this church was dedicated to all the saints. So that was the annual celebration of all the saints in Rome. Now, Pope Gregory III, in about sometime between 731 and 741, because that's when he was pope.
Sure. So sometime during his reign.
Yep.
We can't be more precise.
Well, I've heard sites that had an exact year, but as I'm just working for their stuff, they did not have an exact year. They just said this pope did it. He dedicated a chapel to all the saints and martyrs, quite likely on November 1st, because that's when the date changed in the West. Which I find interesting, because it's still well before the Great Schism.
Yeah. Yeah. Hundreds of years.
And by the 8th century, I'm going to have someone say this Latin word.
Martyrologium Poeticum.
Which was an English calendar of saints' days and, feast days for the city of York and the county of York and General York.
Ecuborium.
Yes. Had All Saints' Day listed on November 1st. Now,
Rome has big sway.
The Archbishop of York happened to be he was a disciple of Saint Bede the Venerable.
Nice.
And he happened to be friends with the Bishop of Salzburg. So he would write him notes about how you should celebrate All Saints' Day on November 1st, too.
Old Sarum.
They were doing a different day.
Sure.
Pope Gregory IV was the one who made November 1st All Saints' Day for East and West Francia.
Nice.
And then the Emperor Louis the Pious, who I'm assuming is probably in Western ones named one of the St. Louis's, most likely. But I didn't look this up because, again, I'm only using sites they suggest.
No, Louis the Pious is, I believe, a grandson of Charlemagne. I just don't remember if he ruled the eastern or western part of the empire.
Well, and 835, he made an edict making it the official date for all of the Frankish Empire. So I assumed he was joined kingdom.
And this is still pre-schism.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is still 200 years before the Great Schism.
I mean, news traveled slow, and for the most part, this was all, local people were in charge of it.
Yeah.
So basically everyone in the West, for the most part, agreed, yeah, this is a good day to do it.
Well, I mean, if that's the dates Rome's doing it on, it seems like a pretty good date.
Yes. Over the next 2 centuries, it was the standardized date in the Western Church. So again, by the time about the Great Schism took place, it was, all through the West, mostly normal.
Yeah.
And Pope Gregory the, doing math, 7th, who was Pope between 1073 and 1085, so a little bit after, the schism.
In the immediate aftermath.
Mandated November 1st as the Feast of All Saints' Day. So that's when it was definitely 100% totally officially the date.
So it's been on November 1st for everywhere in the where
For a millennia.
for essentially a millennium.
And one interesting thing I found in this is a lot of, people, either fundamentalist or neo-pagans or people who are angry at Christians, all insist that, we did this to go and steal the holiday of
Samhain.
Thank you, because I naturally pronounced the name of the bad guy in the Ghostbuster series, which was Samhain, which is not at all the name of the holiday. But that's what they told me it was. Anyway, in one of the books of the, feast days in the Irish Church, which I'm going to let someone else say, because it's a funny name.
The Martyrology of Angus.
Which most scholars have being written between 797 and 808, has Irish All Saints' Day on April 20th. So, still within the realm when it wasn't solidified 100%, but through a lot of Western Europe already, picking the November 1st.
But again, the strength and weakness of Ireland is that for a very long time, that was as far out as you could get.
Yes, and
But again, still, like with the older dates, still tied around Easter. Because there are some years when April 20th is going to be Resurrection Sunday itself. And it's always going to be in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was long before it became a horrible day that, is associated with multiple bad things. Or at least less than stellar things, because, we're not going to get into the moral use of pot, but still, the people who celebrate that day aren't using it morally.
No, they are not.
And as far as I could tell, again, just looking at sites that Orthodox people said these are good sites.
Yeah, we are not cherry picking stuff from the Vatican website or from the USCCB.
So it's not a bunch of angry Irish people who are upset at the British because they should be. But the modern idea of it being largely pagan seems to be from 19th century professors at Oxford and Cambridge.
Yep. Well, it's amazing how many things that are accepted as true today were made up out of whole cloth in the 19th century.
Well, the first one didn't make it whole cloth. They were someone who studied the history of languages, Sir John Rhys, and he thought it was the Celtic New Year based on his, evidence.
Sure.
I mean, the actual name of it is essentially Summer's End, so it doesn't really tell you when you're having your New Year, but he seemed to have some level of research on why he thinks this. However, the next guy, Sir James Fraser, added that it was the Feast of the Dead, basically because Christians were already having a holiday for the dead at that time. If it's the New Year, some societies on the New Year remember the dead. And if we work back from this is what the Christians are doing, largely the Catholics who they disagree with, then it must relate almost exactly to what they were doing in the Celtic lands.
Yep.
Yes. This thing that we're trying to figure out what it was all about, we have no idea. But these people do this thing on this exact same time. And since we believe that these people essentially steal everything from everyone, they must have stolen this from that.
Yeah.
With, no paying attention to the history that this date started in Rome. It was spread to England, France, and Germany well before it was spread to Ireland. And, well, it was the British professor who assumes he's better than everyone else. So, clearly these peasant people in the old times did this because they were stupid, unlike me. tea time. I imagine that's how they actually do stuff there.
Yeah. Snootiness from an Oxbridge professor? That's hard to believe.
Seriously.
So, we have gotten into actually why it is November 1st for All Saints' Day, and therefore the eve of All Saints' Day.
Because somebody did it on that day, and everybody else went and said, hey, that's a good day for doing that.
Sounds good.
If he did it that way, well, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't do it that way.
I mean, I get the fact that having it connected to Easter makes sense because of, stuff, but, that's not how it worked in history for almost everyone, except for the people who are like, la la la, I'm not listening. I picked this date in the year 423.
Well, but one of the nice things, at least as the calendar has developed, is that November 1st is always towards the end of the liturgical year. Mm-hmm. Yes, the Feast of Christ the King is of relatively modern invention, but it has always been, November's always been the end of the liturgical year. We're about to go into Advent, which is the beginning of the new liturgical year. So November is the perfect time to be thinking about, the end, which of course we'll see the rising of all the dead, and we'll see the saints in all of their glory. So it seems a really good time to be thinking about all the saints.
Yeah.
Yes, which is why, if, shipping issues are not a problem, for Advent, we should be able to do the Remember Your Death Advent one that just came out. In that the nuns just got their things published and was like, squee, we have our book, and now we have to send out 50 million copies of it.
Good news, bad news. Yeah, Death Nun.
So, thank you for watching. Remember to go down below, hit the go down below and leave us a comment about why you think we're wrong about Halloween, because that's generally the trend we get around Halloween. Either that, or you'll go down into the comment section below and tell us how you love Halloween and how you are so glad that we finally put an end to all this nonsense about Halloween.
Perhaps
you haven't put an end to it.
Perhaps you watch the History Channel thing where they're like, we're making soul cakes that the Druids had for this thing that we have a detailed info on, even though we first admitted that we have absolutely no records from that were written by them.
Oh, History Channel. It was fine. It was nothing but World War II documentaries.
I mean, even when everything was aliens, at least you consistently knew the answer was aliens.
At least then it was aliens. But you got the guy with the crazy hair.
That's right. And while you're down there, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the bell next to it, and that little like button. And remember, if you're not going to hit the like button, we would love to get a comment as to why not. That way we have some feedback on how we can get and do better. And hopefully, maybe next time, you'll like us better. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just where I'm going. Do what you want to do.
Just comment. Positive, negative, indifferent. Tell us how indifferent you are.
Please tell us how indifferent you are. I really want that one.
In all caps.
Yep.
I don't care. Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point.
I couldn't care less. Remember, you have to put the NT, because if you say I could care less, it means that you could.
Just leave it.
And we're just the kind of people that will point that out repeatedly.
Yep. Repeatedly. And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
Share that love.